Meantime, there's this Trump-backed candidate, Byron Donalds, beating out a crowded gubernatorial Republican primary in Florida last night. The congressman will go on to face former Republican turned Democrat David Jolly in November. Joining me now is the Republican Florida gubernatorial candidate, Congressman Byron Donalds. Congressman, congratulations. It's great to have you on this morning. Tell us a little bit about how you feel coming off this win and what your priorities would be if you win in the general election in November.
It's good to be with you this morning. First, just want to thank the voters in Florida last night for electing me to be their Republican nominee for governor. But now we are focused on the general election, and it's about the affordability issues in our state. We have to push insurance costs down. There are real common sense reforms that are needed on the regulatory side of Florida's insurance market that we're going to get done in year one. And this is where my career and my experience really does matter. I spent 17 years in the financial industry in banking, insurance, and financial services. You contrast that with David Jolly, who's a career Washington insider who's never really done anything in the private sector. And so when it comes to the affordability issues in our state, we got to have a governor, our next governor, who's committed to the same common sense conservatism of Ron DeSantis, while also making sure they have the economic experience to tackle these kitchen table issues for the hardworking people of Florida.
Yeah, and if past performance is a future indicator, we have learned that businessmen in the government get things done. Congressman, you've already challenged your opponent, David Jolly, to 3 debates, so Floridians can, quote, compare 2 very different visions for the state's future. Jolly then responded on X, quote, get through your primary and we'll talk. Congressman, you are now through your primary. When can we expect to see you on the debate stage?
I'm ready to go anytime. That's really more up to David Jolly whenever they're going to let him out of the box. But I'm more than ready, willing to go, because the value systems are vastly different. The policies are vastly different. And let's just talk about what's going to happen on the Democrat side, on the top of the ticket. You have David Jolly, who's a Trojan horse for the Democrat socialists, and now you have Angie Nixon, who is a Democrat socialist. So they want to have a very different Florida. That's not what the people of our state have chosen year after year after year. There's a reason why people keep coming to Florida, because we're a common sense state based on law and order, conservative principles, low taxes, and limited government. And what David Jolly wants to do, he wants government-run property insurance in our state. He wants to continue to increase the cost on the backs of the people of Florida while promising that he's going to make things better. But I've never seen Democrat policy actually make things better. Look at Obamacare. Healthcare costs are on the rise in America because of Democrat policy. Look at what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris did when they were in charge. They created the largest inflation this country has ever seen in 50 years, brought to us by the Democrats. So the reason why so many families have been struggling is because of Democrat policy. So why would you let the arsonist become the firefighter?
Yeah.
There's a reason Florida is the free state, because we have rejected socialism. We've rejected the Democrat Party. We'll do it again this November.
And that's the thing. These DSA candidates around the country, and even the mayor here, Zohran Mamdani, driving people into your state for that specific reason, because the policies here are not working for them, especially on an economic level. What we've seen here in New York City has been a total disaster. And this latest blunder of rolling out the pied-à-terre tax by the mayor is sending even more people to Florida.
No, that's exactly right. And so, like I've been saying on the campaign trail for about a month now, they can keep Mamdani and AOC in New York, but the Democrats are not going to get any power in Florida, because we are the free state for a reason. We are a conservative state based on just common sense. And I think that's what people want. Backing the blue, making sure kids get a great education and not indoctrinated. You have a David Jolly who still thinks it's okay for boys to play in girls' sports. It's just him in the WNBA that thinks that's okay. Nobody else does. David Jolly still thinks it's okay to transgender kids. Even the American Medical Association has reversed course on that policy. But David Jolly still thinks it's okay. So this November election in Florida is going to be a major contrast.
Yeah.
Do the people of Florida want this state to continue to be free, or do they want New York?
And
I think the answer is very clear.
It's amazing also, you bring up some of these policies that DSA candidates have put out there, and then they back away from them because they realize that they just don't have national appeal and could be problematic down the line. Congressman, you also recently joined NBA analyst Stephen A. Smith on his podcast. He had a ringing endorsement after you signed off. Watch this.
He's the real deal, make no mistake about it. I've seen him battling with Democrats. I've seen him battling with people on different shows, whatever. He ain't backing up. He knows his stuff, okay? I talk to him all the time, and I ain't got nothing bad to say about him. I'm being straight with you. And I ain't no damn Republican, but damn it, if anybody could make me one, it would be him. I'm just going to keep it a buck. I'm just letting you know.
Congressman, your reaction to that?
Listen, one, it was a great line of support from Stephen A. He's a good man. He's one of the voters in our state and in our country who just wants this place to work. They want common sense, like I've been saying. And so I'm really honored to have that level of support from him. And we're going to take that message all through our state because, like I say, Florida, we're the best state in America. We're not stopping anytime soon. And we have a lot of voters in our state, like Stephen A. Smith, who think like him, who want to make sure that Florida continues to be the best ever.
I brought up Mayor Mamdani and the pied-à-terre tax, driving people to Florida. But that's not the only issue. He's got botched other policies here, making people say, what am I doing? My quality of life isn't great. I'm paying taxes through the nose, and it's just time to not live in New York anymore. As a matter of fact, the Florida Chamber of Commerce crowned Mayor Mamdani Florida's Economic Developer of the Year. Part of the problem, however, is that these voters voted these folks in here in New York. Now they're coming to your great state. Is there any concern on your part that they bring their votes, their previous type of vote with them, in that they fled the tax policies, but yet for some reason their ideology actually hasn't changed when they go to the ballot box?
No, actually, that's not what we've seen. Even from COVID-19, when Governor DeSantis kept our state open, what we saw, and there were some early concerns about people from New York bringing their voting habits down, but what we saw is that they wanted freedom. They wanted a state that just made sense, and that's why they chose Florida. And even now with Zohran Mamdani and his craziness, we're seeing the same thing again. You're seeing business owners, captains of industry saying, I've had enough. They should have got out during COVID. They did it, and now they're saying, you know what, I'm leaving now. And so that's the reality we're seeing here in Florida. I think we even saw it last night in our primary elections. You saw Republicans surge at the polls yesterday on Election Day. We think we're going to see the same thing this November, because whether you're a new Floridian over the last couple of years from New York or New Jersey or Illinois or Connecticut or even California, or you're a multi-generation Floridian who has known the beauty and the greatness of our state, the one thing is consistent. People want our state to continue to be the free state of Florida, and as their next governor, we will continue to be a conservative free state.
I want to get your take on the DSA candidates that are winning. Angie Nixon was one, winning her primary in Florida. When you face a general election, especially in a state like Florida, it doesn't seem like she stands a chance, but it does seem like the DSA wanted to test the waters with some of these candidates and roll the dice to see how it goes. Maybe Florida isn't so much of a threat, but in some of these swing states, are you worried about it?
We're worried about the fact that you have this radicalism in a Democrat Party that used to be the party of JFK, but no more. It's now the party of Bernie Sanders and AOC. And that radicalism does create issues when you're trying to have a United States of America that's functional, based around capitalism, based around low taxes and limited government. Those are the pillars of our nation. They're definitely the pillars of Florida. I will tell you that in Angie Nixon, she's going to hit some headwinds in the state of Florida because our people do not want socialism. We have Cubans who have come here exiled from their home country, Venezuelans who come here fleeing Chavez's communism. They don't want that in our state. You have longstanding families who look at this socialism and they just think it's abject crazy, because it is abject craziness. But if the Democrat Party, if this is what they're going to turn into, what they're going to realize is they're going to lose more elections in our country, but good, because we do not want to be a European socialist nation. We do not want communism in our country, definitely not in Florida. So So if the Democrats continue to run these socialist candidates, they're going to continue to lose elections.
And on Maria's Sunday program, I spoke to the chair of the RNC. They're getting ready for their big midterm convention in Dallas, the first ever of its kind. It'll be headlined by President Trump. You know, many people out there are saying that Trump is a great messenger, but the party overall needs to message better about economic issues. And they need to seize on this idea that the DSA, it's not really democratic socialism, but it's actually communism. And that's what it will turn into if allowed to grow in this country. So looking after Labor Day, looking at the RNC midterm convention, your thoughts on what the messaging should be to really drive the message home as we head into that home stretch before November?
Well, I think two things. First of all, when the Democrat Socialists started organizing in this country more than 100 years ago, the reason why they chose the name Democratic Socialists is because they knew communism would never play in the United States. So the Democrat Socialists are communists. That's exactly who they are. But number two, for Republicans and conservatives, we also have to stay focused on the issues at hand. In our state in Florida, insurance costs have gotten out of control. Governor DeSantis started doing some real reforms to push those costs down and get it under control. We have regulatory reforms on at the state level that need to get done, and we think we can push costs down 20% in Florida. When it comes to building housing, the National Association of Home Builders has said 30% of the cost of a new home is government, not a roof, not sheetrock, not pipes, not appliances, government. So we have to modernize and reform these systems to decrease the permitting timelines so that we can build housing more effectively and affordably for the people who want to call Florida home. I'll give you another one. In permitting through most of the country, the energy efficiency standards in home construction have never had a cost-benefit analysis. So we've increased the cost of construction with no idea if those savings are actually being borne out by a family at the kitchen table. So we need to examine all that. And when it comes to health care, the Democrats already ushered in socialism. That's what Obamacare is.
Yeah.
And what have we seen? Premiums have doubled. Deductibles are out of control. Families cannot actually get the health care that they need. And that's policy brought to us by the Democrats. So I think we have to be laser focused on the issues that are hurting families. It's insurance, it's taxes. Thank God that President Trump, in his agenda, cut taxes for working families all across this country. But we have more work to do this November.
Absolutely. Congressman Byron Donalds, congratulations on your primary win. And we wish you all the best. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.